Good day, everybody. This is Philip Shaw from Dresden, Ontario, Canada. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Enamul Haque from Dhaka, Bangladesh, from East West University. And it's been a little while since we chatted with you. And this month, I thought that we would talk about the global issue of migration and what's happening with regard to migration around the world and the problems that we see and the different things that are going on around the world. And it kind of this subject is as old as mankind itself is. However, I got thinking the other day. I read in a Canadian newspaper there was a man in Afghanistan that actually flew, or he got to Pakistan after the Taliban took over in Afghanistan. And from there, he flew to Brazil because they had humanitarian visas available. And from Brazil, he went to Ecuador and then to Colombia and then crossed the Darien Gap into Panama, up through some of the smaller Latin American countries into Mexico, where he crossed the U.S. Mexican border after several tries, mind you. It's not easy to do that. Where he took a bus all the way to Plattsburgh, New York, where eventually he walked across an unofficial part of the Canadian-U.S. border, and now he's being housed in Canada, different hotels by the Canadian government. And it just got me thinking, we don't really have a problem with migration here in Canada, like they do in some parts of the world, or illegal immigration, or whatever you might call it. But people are always moving toward a better way of living, or they're moving away from tyranny or war or disease or famine or things of that nature. You see all kinds of migration of people in Africa, in South America, as well as Asia. And of course, there's a lot of migration from people from Africa trying to get into Europe as well as from Syria into Europe. And, you know, we really haven't discussed much of that since we started East West many, many years ago. And just what I read about in the Canadian newspaper about the trail of people from far off lands, whether it be Syria, Afghanistan, or parts of Africa, that were flying or trying somehow to get to South America and then moving their way up to a cold place like Canada, where it's very cold. It just shows you how desperate people are to get to a better place further in their lives. Of course, in this part of the world, the flashpoint is the U.S.-Mexico border, where there's all kinds of different nationalities and different people showing up. But of course, there's lots of hypocrisy involved in it as well, because, you know, the Canadian government has accepted Ukrainian refugees much easier than people from other parts of the world. And maybe you could make that argument for different parts of Europe as well. I don't know. But there's also examples of this in Asia, like in Bangladesh and Myanmar, with the Rohingya refugees migrating over into Bangladesh over a period of the last 20, 30, 40 years or something like that. And there's other examples of it in Africa as well. So there's all kinds of examples of it. And you know, it's become a political problem for many governments around the world, no matter where you are. But you know, I'm from a area of Canada which has a large black population of people that's descended from people that escaped slavery in the United States in the 19th century. So I'm coming from a point of view that we'll always welcome people here if we can, whether they're refugees or whoever they are. But of course, Canada's got different issues with regarding migration and immigration. So with that, I'll just throw it back to Enamul, and he can discuss some of his points about migration, and we can go from there.
Thank you, Phil, particularly for laying the basics of migration pattern and how it is happening right now. My take on migration as a person from Asia is that it is part of human civilization first, because if people did not migrate across the boundary of the world, probably the human civilization where it is now would not be there. So migration is not necessarily bad. People migrated historically for trading. Trading was the first reason for migration, if you remember. People went for migration after for colonization. That was another reason for migration. People come to some countries because Canada is a good example, or US is a good example, where they do bring people officially from different countries to look into the diversity, as well as to create to give jobs in there to boost their own economy where there are labor shortage. Similarly, countries where people are abundant or too many people are also moving out from one country to the other uh, in large numbers across the world, and also for human, what you call say, better economic life. And the last type of migration is those people who are affected by political viewpoints or by atrocities of their own governments. So people do want to leave out. People also migrated for propagating or promoting religions across the world. So I don't see migration as such the way people see it, as a bad. I think that kind of a view is probably not very helpful for the human civilization for the next few centuries. And if you look carefully, I was listening a few days ago about the Chinese issue, that with the aging population in China, the Chinese probably are going to accept immigrants from other countries, probably from the neighboring countries, and that's what they're working on. So you can see that migration will be, it's like in economics, demand and supply. Wherever there's a surplus, there's a movement. And not that movement is always one way. So movement, for example, people from Bangladesh go to India, and similarly, Indians are migrating to Bangladesh. So it's both way migration occurs, I think. The only reason why people see it badly is probably their own feeling or own racial viewpoints or religious viewpoints. That's probably the other thing that I see, migrants who travel across the world for a better living, not necessarily go into an area where uh, they're the burden of the society. If you remember, the Syrian migrants went to Germany, one of the smallest city in Germany, accepted Syrian migrants. The city came back from started economic boom in that particular city. So in a way, migration not necessarily bad. I think somehow the media and the political schools, because of the voting and other behavior, they think migration is bad, assuming migration is like a human curse, and I don't think it is. It is more of a way to integrate the world. And I think if you want to look into it, I will jump onto the issue of the Rohingya, for example. Rohingyas, a population were better affected by the political operations in Myanmar, and they were trying to get out, and they came to Bangladesh. At that time, Bangladesh Prime Minister, she was very brave. She said, if we have 30 million people in Bangladesh who are poor, 10 million people coming from Rohingya, no, it's about a million people, not 10 million. Said 1 million people coming from Myanmar would not affect the country. So it
No.
was a very generous statement. And I still believe it is also true, because it's a very small peanut compared to and they are all active. Remember, migrant populations do not always go and take the social welfare benefits. They are active, they want to work. So if there is an opportunity where opportunity exists, moving these people would actually boost the economy. And that is somehow missing in the discussion across the world. I think the discussion that people bring in is that these are the burden, and I do not necessarily agree with that school of thought.
I know in my own community here in Dresden, Ontario, we have a migration of Mennonite people that came from Mexico, and they prefer to live in rural areas. And what's interesting about it is just exactly what you just said. They actually have increased the wealth, or they've actually caused kind of an economic boom in the rural area because they prefer to live in the rural area. That's a migration within North America itself. So they can it can be an economic stimulus in many ways, depending what it is. I think it's somewhat interesting when you think about the world. You know, you think about that. Think about Russia and Japan. Really, there's no migration there, right? There might be migration within
Well,
Russia from some of the regions of Russia to different places.
Russia had migration historically, because if you look at the Russian population from, for example, from the east to the west, they are all migrated.
Yes,
The huge
that's
Chinese.
right.
Yeah. So
That's right. That's right. There is that. However, I guess what I was getting at is you know you can there's not a lot of immigration in Japan and Russia, and immigration in a place like Canada is an economic stimulus. I know that's different than migration. I know that's different than migration. But anyway, with regard to migration, it definitely can be looked at as an economic stimulus in some areas.
no, I think what you mentioned about Russia, for example, or Japan. Japan is a particular case. For example, even in Bangladesh, Bangladesh is not a nation of its own race, because if you have been in Bangladesh, we have
I have been there many
people
times.
of all color here.
Yeah,
They are coming from, if you look at, some of them are with African origin, some of them will origin from the Eastern Kazakhs, or even if you look into the
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia. So we have mixture of all of them. So I think no country can claim it. The only difference I see between Canada and United States, these were the countries where the original population were either dead or killed. So you actually whole nation, that the nationhood that exists today in the US or in Canada, these are all migrant people, which is not true in Europe, which is not
Yeah,
true in Asia, which is not true in Africa. So
yeah.
that is why you see a little bit of a difference between the policy of immigration. But many countries, as I mentioned, these Japanese, Korean are open to immigrants, taking immigrants. So the point that I normally would want to look into this, that the way we have been at least portraying, or at least labeling migrants as a burden to the society, is probably not true. They are
Yeah.
not burden. If a older person migrate, that's not a burden either, because most of them go with wealth, and many countries, in fact, invite older person migrate.
Yeah.
Thailand is a very good example, where there's a lot of Europeans migrate after their retirement, and they live here.
Malaysia as well.
Malaysia as well. So I think somehow the way newspaper and other people, the politician thought about it, I disagree with it as an academic. I think migration is something that has boosted human civilization. Our life and we are today is because of the open policy of migration. People used to roam free around the world. That's how it was. But it was probably uh, because of political reasons we have stopped it. And I think I would rather see a more globalized world, where people can take their advantage to a place where they can play, better. So I think opportunities is what have been pushing people to migrate. So instead of looking them as a burden, looking them as an opportunity should be the way to look into this problem as a window of opportunity rather than as a problem. That's how
And
I see.
I imagine there's different governments around the world that do look at it that way. I'm not sure about the Canadian government. You know, like one thing that I always realize about Bangladesh and India, and when I go to Asia, is the populations are so large that there's large migration within those countries. Like even in Bangladesh, I mean, there's a large migration to Dhaka, right, from
Exactly.
almost everybody, right?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
imagine in China, it's always a challenge for the government to keep the
Yeah.
rural population where they are instead of going to the cities. And I'm sure they have the same problem in
Same,
India.
same with India, because if you look at Indian states, they're all different. I still remember I was in the South Indian, one of the museum, and in the museum entry, they had a foreigner's fee. And one of the Indian from the Nagaland, he wanted to enter, and they asked him a foreign fee, and he said, "No, no, I'm an Indian." So see, the point I'm raising that there's a lot of internal migration happening, and none of them has actually created burden for the society where they are. So I think we should get out of this kind of a typical, I would say, the stigmatic view of migration. My feeling is that migration is something that should be taken as a positive strategy, and it actually will integrate and create more wealth among the nations on earth.
Yeah, it's something that we don't often think about it that way. I mean, because we listen to the political commentary sometimes, and sometimes it's not all that positive about it. I know in Canada, like in the United States, I suppose to some extent, but everybody's come from somewhere usually, unless you're an Aboriginal person. So I always say, where did you come from? Because my ancestors migrated from Ireland or the UK like 250 years ago. We still have stories about that. I remember one time you told me that your father thought that your ancestors came from Peshawar in Pakistan. I don't know if you remember those stories at all, but that's a long ways from where you live now. So there has been migration through the years, and for many, many different reasons, and it continues today. But of course, it's live on satellite news today. So you know, you see some pretty difficult things. But I never really thought about it as a fresh new way of thinking, that it's an economic opportunity. But there's no question about that, that's true.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we wanted to discuss this issue particularly to raise awareness and thinking among all the listeners, so that they see migration more of a more opportunity and challenge. And I agree with you on that. Thank you, Phil.
Well, thanks very much, Enamul. We'll talk to you next month.
Thank you. Bye-bye.